The Northwest home for paranormal. You're listening to U.S. Phenomenon with your host, Mario Magana.
From the Pacific Northwest in the shadow of the 1962 World's Fair, the Space Needle. Good evening. This is U.S. Phenomenon. I'm your host, Mario Magana, and oh my goodness, it has been a while since we've had a guest of this stature who has been a major contributor to U.S. Phenomenon. He co-hosts his own show. You can find him at Michael Parker LA. It is my pleasure to welcome back to U.S. Phenomenon, Michael Parker. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Happy New Year, Mario. How you doing?
Man, Happy New Year. I'm fantastic. You know, it's interesting. Great. Times are the same. 6 years into this thing. A couple radio stations here, a couple podcasts here. What's interesting? I've done a couple shows about the Epstein files that have come out. Now, there's been a new trough of files that have come out.
Yep.
I don't know why I said trough, but it's a lot. There's like a megaton of this stuff.
3 million pages, I think.
You're right. It is around 3,000.
I read them all, by the way.
I'm glad, because this is why you're here. 3 million pages, among with 2,000 videos, 180,000 images were released on January 30th of this year. A lot of it is pretty disturbing, if you ask me. Of the stuff that I've seen on social media, the speculations that are going around, and this is something that you and I talked about a long time ago. I know that Bill Gates had alleged, you and I had talked about Bill Gates and Epstein a long time ago in previous shows, and this was like one of the first show. I don't even think the body was cold yet when he died. We were talking about these Epstein files, and I was like, what about Bill Gates? No one is talking about Bill Gates. And back then, there was not much evidence to the contrary to what has been released in 5 years later. How much I don't know if you want to call it collateral damage, if you want to call it coincidental. It's just interesting to me that he continues to refer to him as an acquaintance. I mean, he's dead. So, and when I refer to Epstein, that he can't, the only thing we have now are these alleged emails that are these transcriptions of, Bill Gates writing to Epstein asking for said prescription medication.
Yep.
It's wild.
Mario, if I may, yes, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I think that some people may even have Epstein fatigue because it's lingered for so long, and we've waited for something to happen. My God, is somebody going to go to jail besides Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? And then Epstein, I've said many times on your show, I, like many people, think that someone killed him. I could be wrong. So now we've been talking about this for so long. Nobody's gone to jail for it. And when you said the acquaintance thing in regards to Bill Gates, because Bill Gates has been associated with this story for as long as I can remember, but this particular drop was very detrimental to him for the reason that you mentioned, in which they're showing the emails where he's asking Jeffrey Epstein for these antibiotics to give to his wife because supposedly he got an STD from these, they're saying, Russian girls. But you mentioned something interesting, that they refer to him as an acquaintance. It's like, I think that's the frustrating thing about this, and the omnipresence of Epstein. Epstein, we talk about, okay, so what did Trump know? What did all these people know? How close were they to them? Did he go on the airplane? Did he go to the island? What? Basically, and this is one of the things that kind of bugs me, is that, and this is not an apology at all for any of this. It's all abhorrent and terrible. But at the same time, these people are all operating in a circuit of cocktail parties and galas and things. All these people coalesce together because they're all part of this same elite group of the power and business and science and celebrity level, right? So yeah, they do all know each other. And you know what? You're going to have pictures made with these people, whether you want to or not. Now, that's not to absolve anybody of anything. It's just that, like with this latest 3 million documents that they've dropped.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is just tip line reports that were never validated. And
Sure.
then I read something as well that there's also like thousands of pages of commercial pornography. What I'm getting at is, of these 3 million pages, how much of this is actually valuable and how much of it is, and then there's the redactions, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
a lot of this material is redacted. Initially, Trump's name was not redacted, and I can't get an actual number on how many times he was mentioned. And then there's talk that now they're going to re-redact because we've also got names in there of the victims, which shouldn't have been in there, because the whole reason that we're waiting so long, right, was to
Right.
get right. We were going to remove all of this data about the innocent, but apparently we didn't. Now, why did that happen? I don't have an answer. People are been out of shape about the fact that this took longer than the December cutoff. I'm sorry. When I'm thinking of government, I'm expecting overruns anyway. So I'm not that fussed about this. I didn't know it was going to come out on Friday, which was a very conspicuous day, as you and I discussed. I was actually researching the silver market on that day, and we had this incredible silver market decline that is suspicious as hell and wiped out trillions of dollars worth of value in 24 hours. So that happened on that same day. Meanwhile, there's the continuing concern about what may or may not happen in Iran. Um, and then we had this thing that came out at the end of the day. I don't know if you saw it, where they were talking about this thing called Molt Book, which might or might not even be a real thing, which supposedly was a social media site for AI.
Right.
Friday was nuts. And so in the middle of this is kind of between it and the silver. This is the big story. To get back to the Epstein thing, a lot of people are hyper focused on this, and I'm not saying that they should not be. And one place that Trump has really dropped the ball on this is underestimating the value of getting to the bottom of this to his core base, right?
Yeah. Right.
Now, this is also frustrating to me because meanwhile, while we see this horrible fire burning, I see other fires burning, and I see people respond in social media. Some new news story will be dropped and you'll see it over and over. But what about those Epstein files? Listen, we all hear you. We get it. That's a problem. It's a big problem. Nobody's going to let it go. This is a JFK thing. We're going to be hearing about the Epstein files for the rest of our lives. I'm certain of that. And they can continue to drop files, but no one's ever going to be satisfied, I don't think. Because let me just finish this off. It's like, I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where we have enough information that people will be satisfied. So people would rebut that and say, look, okay, well, then we want some people to go to jail. Now that I don't disagree with you with. Friday was crazy. We got these papers. People are going to have to go through them. A lot of it I don't think is going to be valuable, but I'm sure within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, people that have the wherewithal and the patience or the technology to go 3 million pages of paper
right
will be able to tell us what's really important. And getting back to Bill Gates, it was a very bad day for him. And by the way, I tend to believe most of this stuff about Bill Gates. I was never a fan. My concerns with him were always more about C-19 and the B word and all that. So I'm not a fan, so I'm not fussed.
And I think for myself, I think the reason why I asked is I think there was an undertone of a social monster as I saw it. I'm sure he's a nice person. I don't know that I would be hanging out with someone of that. Well, I wouldn't, because I'm not that elite. I'm not a part of that social circle. And the reason why I keep bringing these things up, someone from the Pacific Northwest who is from here, grew up here, knows the history about who this individual is, at least what has been documented in regards to who he is. I mean, yes, he co-founded Microsoft with, Paul Allen. Paul Allen's no longer here, but those two weren't friends afterwards. I mean, that should speak volumes.
Mhm.
And what's interesting to me was when you and I had talked about, I think Epstein had passed away. We did a show about that, but I was like, no one still is talking about Bill Gates. What about Bill Gates? Okay, so it kind of lingered through. Yes, Donald Trump's name is, we know that Donald Trump's name's in this thing. Bill Clinton's name's in this thing.
A lot of people's names are in this
There are a
thing.
lot, whose name is not in here, and you're gonna laugh when I say this. Diddy.
That's interesting. Okay, so
Sean Puffy Combs was not in this documentation, but the other guy, Jay-Z, was named in that.
Right. Well, that's interesting to me. Now here's another thing, and by the way, I hope that didn't come off wrong. Like I didn't want to talk about Gates, but this is me kind of having a floor to explain my frustration with all this.
Right.
Is that they were talking about all of these names that were being redacted, but Trump's name wasn't redacted, and now we're talking about maybe they're going to re-redact. So, and then there's also a while back, Ghislaine Maxwell had said that there were about 25 of this power elite that were involved with Diddy who had signed some kind of agreements where their names were not going to be released. My point is, I don't know who all's in the files because I've never seen the files unredacted and what is even going to actually make the files at the end of the day. Now I'll take it a step further. I also don't think there was one Epstein. I think that there may be other people who serve similar functions as him. I'm not saying that there's clones of him. What I'm saying is I believe that there are other people in the world who serve similar functions as Epstein. And so, I mean, here again, I could be wrong, but I think once something kind of works and he found a way to align himself with all these various governments, all these various forces and prestigious people for different reasons, I believe that there's other people who do what he does. So I know that's not good news to the world, but that's what I think.
So when we talk about this, and we know that there's all kinds of names, let me throw another conspiracy at you. So Prince Andrews was named in those files, right?
Yes.
What if Princess Diana knew about this back in '97 and was going to come out with this, and they had her killed because she was going to come clean with the whole Epstein stuff? She knew about Andrews.
That's an interesting idea.
I know someone talked about it. I just recently saw this, and I was like, "Oof, that's interesting. That's deep. It's heavy. It's very heavy."
I mean, I've heard various ideas about what happened to Princess Diana and why. I have not heard that idea. But listen, I mean, if you're that close to all of those things, it's reasonable that you might have heard a little scuttlebutt. And that's the other thing. Like, I don't know how discreet these people were being. I think most of these people were pretty full of themselves. And I would think if you're that level of affluence, and we're all going to the horse races and the award shows and the Met galas and the things of that such, I think you're going to hear a little something on the down low. So to your point, maybe she did know. Maybe that was just one more thing that she knew.
It's interesting because, it talks about Clinton's name, Trump's name referenced in this multiple times, with the news clips and things of that nature. What's interesting to me is all these people that are being named in these files, they're not common folk. And I think this is something that you and I talked about. This is part of the super elite of elite. These are people that are running our countries. These are people that are making decisions. These are high-powered, influential people. Now,
Yes.
what's interesting about the whole Epstein piece is, was he working for another government?
I think he was working for I think he was working for a lot of people. I think
Number
Epstein,
two, who do you work for?
I
Number
think that he I think that he worked for a lot of people. My personal theory, just to remind folks who they might be saying, why is Mario having this guy on? Well, back in 2019, 2020, I produced a podcast series for another show, and we did a deep dive on Epstein at the time, and the name of the show was called The Hidden Truth Show, and
Mhm.
the series was called What Happened in Palm Beach. Ladies and gentlemen, it is still out there on YouTube and podcast if you want to listen to it. And so we talked to a lot of these people that had been around all of that at the time, and I have always felt that Epstein worked for, I think he worked for whoever wanted to hire him. I think that as far as, what was Epstein like on the inside besides horrible, I think that he was the kind of guy. First of all, he was a people collector. He's the
Sure.
type of guy that wants to affix himself to famous people, to people of power for multiples of reasons. A, to make money, B, to get power, C, I think to fill probably issues that he had with his own psychosis. He liked to be around famous, rich people. And some of those people that he was around don't want to be known and they lie low. So you're right. There's a lot of these people in these things that we don't know their names right off the bat, but they were very important people. And where was I going with this? Just the fact that some of these people, we may not know their names, but that doesn't mean that they are unimportant people. And I think a lot of those people who you may not know their names, it's because they don't want you to know their names, because real power is not necessarily showy. The really rich people, they don't want you necessarily to know how rich they are. Um, but one other thing about the drop that happened on Friday was the reaction to it. And so a lot of stuff happened. So did you see on Friday where people were booing Zoran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York,
Yeah,
because the picture of his mother, who was a filmmaker, was with Epstein.
Epstein.
And a lot of people were assuming that it is possible that Zoran Mamdani is the
Epstein's.
son of
Yeah.
Epstein. I don't personally believe that, but that's just one example of the entire continued Epstein mania. And then, did you see all the Nicki Minaj comments that she made on Twitter?
Well, I know
After
I know that she's been suckered by. I mean, the last I saw was that Nikki thought she got herself a player's card, a gold card, and then the president was like, "No, that was a fake one. That wasn't a real one." I saw that stuff. They feel
no,
like Nikki.
she made um
I'm so what?
she made some drops on X, basically talking about your favorite singer, your favorite stars do all of these horrible things that I'm not going to repeat here,
Yeah,
including what we're saying were the very worst things that we were thinking that Epstein and his crew did. And I bring that up just because she's, she's just saying this. There's an entire whirlwind of energy that still continues around anything having to do with this scandal. So on both sides, on all sides. And then another thing that came out over the weekend, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just repeating it here because it's another thing that was
yeah.
coming around. There was originally, after Epstein died, however he died. And listen, I don't even know. He may be alive. I don't know. Um, I I think he killed himself, but I don't know. Well,
Wait,
anyway, right, the day
we-
after he died, there were anonymous posts put on 4chan by a person who supposedly worked in the prison that he was being held in. And in these posts, he describes that Epstein was wheeled out in a wheelchair around the time that we all think that he passed away, and basically disappeared, whisked off, disappeared into the night. Okay, so at the time, that was research. Nobody could figure out who this person supposedly was. Well, over the weekend, it looks like some people have found out who that original poster was. Now, I don't know if any of this is true. We will find out, but this is the level that we're at of this is never going away. And more information will always come out, and we'll find out in the coming days if the thing with the 4chan reporter is a real issue or if it's a hoax or whatever. And then we get back to this idea of how many people that Epstein knew because he inserted himself into every level of the elite. You know, we've got this New York Giants owner, Steve Tisch, you know,
Oh,
all
yeah.
these famous, the guy that just got the job with CBS. They're saying somebody that's involved with the LA Olympics. I mean, on one side, you have to wonder, my God, so are these all bad people? But on the other side, you also have to get back to what I said at the beginning. Unfortunately, a lot of these people, just because you got a picture made with someone doesn't mean that you know them or are
I
involved
mean,
with anything with it. And it's not to say that I'm absolving Trump because Trump has been very frustrating about all this, but I'm just saying the reality of it is these people are in a circle of people of which there are many people. They all know each other. That doesn't mean they're all involved in things together.
when we talk about this, I think you start to go back, and I don't like to bring up his name very much or very often, but AJ, uh, his first name is
Alex
Alex.
Jones? Alex
Yeah,
Jones?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you think he's crazy, but on a lot of his shows, he used to talk about how he would talk about these types of things going on. I mean, you talk about the social political piece of everyone gathering in California over at
Yep. The
Bohemian
Grove.
Grove,
Yeah.
the Grove. But this takes it to a whole nother level. If you're talking about Bohemian Grove with compromising people on that level, this is on a level 10 times that. You're talking worldwide. These people have been compromised. And I'm not saying, because I know I have a picture with Puff Daddy from way back in the day. That doesn't mean I was at his parties with a bunch of baby oil, you
Exactly.
know. But here's what I will say: where there's smoke, with it when there's smoking gun. I mean, some of this is pretty damning for a lot of these individuals.
Oh,
You know,
for sure.
I
And listen,
mean,
I don't think that the things that were alleged to have happened did not happen. I think that he's just as bad as horrible as we think he is. My concern is who how many people are actually involved in this, who's really involved. Let's not all freak out. And it does bug me that of these 3 million pages, we've got all these police tips that really have no context. And
sure.
so I don't know how valuable that is. I know that what the DOJ is doing is they're like, well, you guys wanted this, so here it is. But this
And
is the frustrating thing for me about the administration. They said this was going to be a priority for them, and yet it's taken so long. This is like a lose-lose situation. Nobody's ever going to be happy on this, and
Well,
I don't
I
necessarily
think that,
blame them.
you got presidents, former presidents in this thing. I don't know. Here's what I say about the Epstein: if he's alive or dead, or if he got
Yeah.
wheeled out. Let's see the autopsy report. Let's see the report. Let's see the photos of him dead. That will clear a lot of things up.
Well, actually, I mean, that happened, and Cyril Wecht, I believe, was the forensic scientist who did this. He believed that the photos and the autopsy led him to believe that there were ligature marks around Epstein's necks. And a ligature is not a bed sheet. A ligature is like an electric cord or
Right.
one of those things you put on your car to hold the luggage down or something,
Sure.
or rubber hose or something. That was Cyril Wecht, and I believe that there was fractures within the front bones of the throat that led him to believe that what actually had to him was a forcible strangling versus falling forward from a bed.
I'm trying to remember who was his cellmate.
Well, at one point he had a cellmate who was a big muscular guy, I believe, and maybe some kind of former mafioso type or something. I don't remember the man's name right off the bat, but when he died, he was supposedly, in solitary.
Nicholas Tardo.
Talarino or something.
Yeah, yep. That was
Yeah.
his cellmate.
Yeah, and I can't remember what all that guy had to say at the time, but he was kind of a scary character,
I mean, the dude was huge. I was like,
right?
oh yeah, that dude. There's no way. I was like, no, oh yeah, that guy got him.
Yeah.
That guy got him. Someone told him to get him. Someone said get him. And I wonder if that guy's still in jail or if he's out now for good.
Well, I think that
good
he's
behavior.
made a couple. I think that he's made a couple of statements on this in the past. But also, do you remember when? I don't know how long ago, it was a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, they dropped this tape that was supposedly the tape of that floor. I mean, and that wasn't even, the camera wasn't even pointed at the right doors. I mean, it's just, this is my frustration on this, at least with the Trump administration. It's like, look, man, this is a very serious thing to many, many people, and many of these people voted for you. So this is not a thing to get wrong. And I wish that, he would take this seriously, and not, I don't know. A lot of people are very disappointed about this. And every time something gets bungled in the data or documents or video that we receive after the fact, it kind of just makes it look worse. So that's one thing that bugs me.
Yeah, there's no evidence in regards to that guy is doing life in prison, his cellmate. But yeah, there's no real tangible goodies in regards to, like, just show me the autopsy, show me some pictures. I think that'll kind of smooth out that piece. I wish he wasn't dead, to be honest with you. This would be way more popcorn-esque to it would be very much OJ-esque of today's modern day. It's interesting to me because when you think, we go back to the Prince Andrew thing, and how Buckingham Palace, basically threw him out on his ass, and just said, you're done. What's interesting to me was that Andrew had invited Epstein to Buckingham Palace back in 2008.
Yes.
And it's crazy, like, how much pull he had and what he was doing for all these individuals and what has been released out there. Clearly, Michael Parker and I are not going to go through these documentations. We're not going to show photos. I mean, we're fathers of daughters, and there are other people that are fathers of daughters and mothers of daughters. And I mean, I can't even say it because it's over the air radio, but in the podcast, I could say it, but it's just really effed up on how bad this is. And a lot of people aren't going to go to jail. There may be some people like Epstein who is no longer on this earth to face any type of criminal action. There may be substantial damages to his estate where people may get paid out, but there are a lot of sick bastards out there in this world. And this is on levels that is past these, forensic files type investigative shows. This is like disturbing on what has been released. And the fact that people on social media just vomit it out there, like, look at, like, they're doing what we're doing, right? Having a conversation, but they have the green screen and they're 10 minutes to 15 minutes of fame to get all those social hits. Clearly, we're not doing that. But from what I've seen and what I've heard so far on what they are alleging in regards to what is being, Bill Gates, for example, him having these, catching an STD. I mean, how stupid are you to catch an STD as a married individual? Why are you not protecting yourself? I mean, that's just it's a stupid move. Like, you're a married man. You're a married man.
So I think that, yeah, I know how stupid that looks to us. But a lot of Jeffrey's business model, was dependent upon that type of behavior. Like, you know what, a couple of glasses of champagne and then some attractive women or whatever the person's particular jam was. You give them that and then you compromise them.
Let's call it dysfunction. I don't want to call it jam. Yeah.
Well, hey, no, but seriously, man, I mean, this is an old form of espionage and spying. This didn't start with Jeffrey Epstein, so there's been plenty of time to figure it out. And we are just animals, we're human animals. And anyway,
Yeah.
people get dumb, and then they
Yeah,
do
it's
dumb
true.
things. And this whole game is dependent upon people's behavior. And yes, for sure, you would think a guy like Bill Gates would be smarter than that, but hey, man, sometimes people are so full of themselves and they kind of feel like they're untouchable, and they're easily they do dumb things easier than you might think.
What are we knowing about we know Gates has been named. Elon, was he a part of that list?
So Elon supposedly is in the emails, and they're trying to. Oh, that's another thing about this. The whole thing that bugs me is well, let me finish the Elon point first.
Sure.
So a lot of people are saying, see, Elon went to the island. Elon went to the island. Now there are emails, and I think these go back to 2013, in which Jeffrey and Elon are talking to each other, and it's about Elon, I believe, is going to be somewhere in St. Bart's or something down in the area, and then maybe he's going to come to the island. Anyway, according to these emails, that never happens. But Elon says today, well, he invited me there. And then these emails, and the people that don't like Elon are saying, well, he wanted to go there. Long story short, as far as we can tell, he never went. But there was the discussion of him going. So yes, he's in the files as well. And basically anybody who had a discussion, well, I don't want to say that. There's a lot of ways that you could have been in the files without actually having been involved in some of this behavior. You could have just been something that they were discussing, and I'm forgetting my example right off the bat. But a lot of the famous names that you'll see associated in there will be some who really didn't have anything to do with anything. They just are caught up in this net of data.
So, according to the Department of DOJ, which included a trove of emails between 2012 and 2014, some called, quote unquote, wild party inquiry, from November of 2012, Musk reportedly asked Epstein what day,
yes,
last night, will the wildest party on your island? I mean, you can inquire about these things, island visits. The emails show that Musk and Elon attempting to coordinate a visit on the private island.
And if that's a legitimate email, it doesn't look good for Elon.
No, it doesn't. I mean, and we just going through the facts,
right.
The business inquiries about, about Solar City empowered from New Mexico, SpaceX type stuff. But Musk has responded, and he continues to maintain that, he never attended the islands or any of these parties.
Well, there are so many people, I mentioned the New York Giants guy earlier. There's a guy who just booked a gig with CBS. I forget his name. I believe he's a fitness kind of person. And basically people were calling for him to lose his job even before he started, because a decade ago he had many email back and forths with Epstein. So yeah, I mean, if you're one of the people, even if you didn't do anything, but you were contacting Elon, you're kind of in the crosshairs. So
it's so crazy that why was Epstein so obsessed with technology, with tech people, and the financial moguls?
Well, I got an answer for that.
Oh,
and you and I actually talked about this a long time ago. At least it appeared to me, and I think it's substantiated afterwards. He was a transhumanist, and he is a person who, and listen, here's another reason that it doesn't really make sense that he would have killed himself. He was getting ready to potentially cooperate before he died. And I believe his lawyers at the time, so we're saying he was confident. Listen, and a transhumanist, the main thing they want to do, not die. And so he was very much involved in the pursuit of that type of information. He was a scientist groupie in a way. I mean, he really was giving money out to a lot of these people. It wasn't just celebrities or politicians that he wanted to be around. He also wanted to be around leaders of science and technology, because I think that all of that fascinated him. And I do believe that, he's the type of guy that would have wanted to adopt technology that would help him live longer. And when you're rich, you want to live longer, right? I mean, most
Right.
rich guys don't want to live shorter. They want to live longer. So I think that's another reason that he was very much fascinated with scientists and giving money to so many of them. He wanted to be around that. He wanted first dibs on it.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know that it is funny, but it's crazy to see. You're not going to find myself or someone like a Michael Parker on this list. You're not going to find like a Steve Quagmire. You're not going to see. There have been these social media posts like, "Oh, Quagmire didn't make the list." Diddy did not make the list. Jay-Z made the list, which is interesting to me because now they're going after Jay-Z.
Well, Jay-Z, there's been rumors about Jay-Z for a long, long time. And I'm not going to say, I don't have any firsthand knowledge, but all of these people that we're talking about, it's kind of like Weinstein. If you lived in LA,
Yeah.
you'd have heard about the Weinstein stuff for 20 years before anything happened. So a lot of this stuff is hushed, kind of open secret stuff. And that's as much as I'm going to say about that, because I don't know that much about the Jay-Z other than I've always heard that it ain't good, man.
Here's what I'm going to say about Jay-Z. The photos, for those who don't know Jay-Z, if you're an older individual who may be listening to the radio show, this goes back to the conspiracies here, but Jay-Z is a rapper mogul, clothing fashion dude who kind of same levels Puff Daddy. He's producing the Super Bowl halftime show and has been for a few years. What's interesting to me is there are pictures of Jay-Z and Aaliyah, who was an artist who was 15 years old, who was married, who was shortly married to a guy who's now in prison, R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Now, R. Kelly and Aaliyah married, and they had that marriage annulled because she wasn't old enough. She was still just 15 years old. Now, what's crazy to me is that Aaliyah would be my age, a year younger. She would be 46 right now if she was still alive. Yeah, she'd be 46 years old right now. I mean, she was just a year younger than I was. And to see her pass away in a tragic plane crash, there have been multiple alleged stories about Jay-Z, about R. Kelly. When there's smoke, there's fire, right? I mean, so something is going to come out in regards to a lot of this. And I think as the reason why I do this show is we need to remind ourselves. I think it's been in multiple books. We need to continue to use our minds, regardless on what side of the aisle this is. This isn't a Democratic thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is a human thing. This is something that the elite, powerful people are running our countries that are getting away with essentially murder in a lot of these alleged cases where if this is real, let's just say all this stuff that's gone on with Trump, Clinton's and everybody else, all these alleged, things. I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but the evidence is so damning on so many different levels on some of these individuals. In regards to the Clintons, Trump having association. I mean, there's video of him hanging out, the two of them in their young days, and who knows what. I mean, and that could just be association, But I did hear a story about Donald Trump alleged him and Epstein were kind of friends at one point in time. And then, Epstein had him come over to look at some property in Florida. Trump eventually bought the property and, Epstein was super upset at Trump.
That's supposedly the story that ended their friendship. I mean, I always thought that it was because he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, but people are saying it's actually about this piece of property that they both wanted. I don't know the truth on it.
It's interesting that there's that, but then you do have the president saying, "Hey, he was taking my workers from Mar-a-Lago,"
right?
And there's that story as well. Now, to the common folk like myself and you, I mean, I could barely, afford to have someone clean my house, once every quarter, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so I'm cleaning my own house just like everybody else does.
Man,
But
I clean my own house.
I maybe once a quarter I have the maid come. I don't even know who my maid is. I just
Right.
know she comes over. I just call her the fairy. She cleans the house up. She's really good, and I know she comes in. She's recommended. She does a lot of my friends' houses, but I've never met Maria, and so Maria comes through, cleans the house. But like I'm saying, like I'm not at that level where I don't someone's trying to steal my workers. So yeah, if you're at that level where I'd be mad too if someone's stealing my workers, and that's where I can see Trump being upset about that situation. Um, does this look bad for the entire administration because they've taken so long on
Well,
this?
yes, to me, this looks bad for everybody. And I will say, because a lot of people were asking, so why did it drop now? And I'll be honest, on Friday, I was all absorbed in the silver crash because that was very mysterious. And maybe we can talk about that. Well, not mysterious,
Yeah,
just super not good, not on the up and up. Anyway, that's another thing. But
sure.
so people were like, so why this particular day? Well, there are those out there who believe that this was to make Trump look even worse. And I don't think that's not necessarily possible. A lot of people believe that certain groups are upset with Trump because he's not doing what they want him to do. And this is okay. Look, this wasn't coming from me. Other people said this, and it's easy to find online. A lot of people thought that Trump was going to attack Iran, and there are countries who want Trump to do that, and he has not done it yet. And I'm an anti-war guy. I mean, at the end of the day, people ask me what are my politics. Well, number one, I'm an anti-war guy. That does not mean I'm a pacifist, but I hate war. So anyway, but a lot of people wanted him to attack Iran. And some people feel like this is a way of showing him who's boss. Like, if you're not going to do that, we're going to do this. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's done to make him look bad. Some people think that he's being sabotaged from within his own administration. That's not impossible. That certainly happened within his first administration. So
Sure.
I think that, and they did this in such a shoddy way after having all of this time to supposedly do this the right way. The things that are not redacted, the things that are redacted, the victims whose information is left in the documents. How does, I mean, it looks bad for the administration. Now, that being said, nothing was really done in the prior administration. And some people will say, well, that's because, it was still in court and this, that, and the other thing. All I'm just saying, it doesn't look good for anybody, but I think it does hurt the current administration because it's happening now during that administration. And
Sure.
usually that's as far as people can see what's happening right now, because I need a bad guy right now. And,
Well, does it go back to the administration saying, okay, the DOJ is, most of the people picked in the DOJ is from this administration, right? Most of
well,
the people
well, look,
are they competent enough to do the job? Is I guess where I'm trying to go with that piece,
well,
just
look,
to make sure
certainly,
that we're crossing the I's, dotting the T's.
yeah, well, a
You know?
lot of people are very disappointed in his appointments. Pam
Sure.
Bondi. And listen, I'm one. I don't think she's done a very good job. Cash Patel, certainly disappointed in him. I don't really know. I thought he was going to be better at this than he has been.
Sure.
Dan Bongino, they
He's
both got
out
up.
though.
They both got up in front of us in that video and said, "Hey, we've seen the footage. Epstein killed himself. Case closed. That's it. Bada boom. We're done." And I don't. A lot of us didn't believe that. And a lot of us are like, wow, that looks like a hostage video, man. And like, who made them say that? So to your question, yeah, there's a lot of people who do not think this is the A team that's doing this work, but
Right.
I don't have the answers. I'm only
No.
saying what other people are
Sure.
saying. And it's occurred to me as well. I'm not crazy about what these people have done.
It just
They've not done a hell of a lot.
To me, it really goes back, Michael, to something that you and I talked about a long time ago is like you got to start asking questions, man. Is this And I think what we were kind of talking about the AJ stuff this is making him look like like he's right on par for like the crazy stuff that he's talked about in the past in regards to stuff at Bohemian Grove. About like this makes him look like he's known the entire time. Like you know what I mean? Like you and I would say that's crazy. That is crazy to think that. What do you mean that they have these kids on an island or they're coming out of a pizza shack in the back? And you're like, do you remember when they were talking about the Clintons taking people from?
Oh, I absolutely remember that. I did a lot of research into it. Here's the deal. A lot of this stuff,
What was
when it's
that?
happening and it's of that magnitude, oh, you better believe I'm going to look into it. And as far as AJ goes, I've listened to AJ. I
Yeah.
mean, I've enjoyed his work in the past, but it's funny. I've never seen as many memes as I'm seeing now and within the last 6 months, basically to the effect of, "Hey, go apologize to your conspiracy theorist friend."
Right. Yeah,
You know,
we're
I
right.
mean,
I want one.
yeah, it's like are all these jokes about how right AJ has been, but you know what? I gotta say, it's been that way for a long time, and it's like not just him, but to be a critical thinker and to ask a question, it's okay. It is okay, people. Don't be. They don't want you to ask questions. They don't want you to think independently, and they're trying to crush that spirit out of all of us. They want us to be obedient and dumb, buy stuff, have a mortgage, be tired, go to bed, raise your kids, do your thing. But whatever you do, don't get involved in our business.
Did you ever see that movie with Jim Caviezel, The Sound of Freedom in 2003?
I have not. I know the movie and I do need to see it at some point.
I, I mean,
Right.
I went with a date to that movie.
Ooh, yikes.
We still hang out. We still talk. And we joke about like we were supposed to go to dinner afterwards. I just took her home. It was so traumatic, but it was so raw.
Yeah.
That is a movie that people should be watching. If you are not in touch and understand the whole Epstein situation, this will get you right on par to what's going on out there in the world. Because they do a really good job of covering a lot of the stuff, sharing the stories about kids going in these containers, how they're getting shipped across the country. It is wild. It is crazy. And these are things that, that have been talked about through. I mean, you go back, like I said, you go back and read the book, Behold the Pale Horse. I mean, for all we know, this could be a secret society that is pulling these strings to compromise our elected officials, our high-powered scientists. They are compromising them because they want to make sure they still have the ultimate power and control of people. That's what this all looks like to me. But yes, this is all bad, but what I'm trying to tell you is there's somebody that is the mastermind puppeteer behind all of this. There has to be. I mean, what happened to the kid that smoked out Charlie Kirk? You haven't heard anything about that, dude.
Man, that is a whole other thing. And um
I mean, yeah.
one thing I would say to people is like, I have to do this. I've been in this world for a long, long time. I don't look into everything because sometimes my heart and my soul just can't take it. And I would advise people who don't know about these subjects. I was saying be active and think for yourself, but some of this is so bad that just some of
Proceed
these
with
things are
yeah.
so shocking that just be careful. Don't dive. Oh, I'm going to find out everything right now or look into these things. It's very hard on your soul and your heart after. I mean, there are articles, I that I don't read intentionally because I already know the gist of it and I don't want to reinforce that type of energy in myself. Maybe I'm too tenderhearted, but a lot of the stuff is extremely dark, and
It is very.
so just be careful if you go
Proceed
to
with
look into
caution.
all of it.
Exactly,
Yes, proceed
Michael.
with caution. There we go. There we go.
I think that's such a great tip too for those who are like us. Michael, you may what I would like to say. Maybe you are that old school grocery shopper and you're in the checkout stand listening to the show, downloaded the podcast, and you look to your left and you see the tabloid. That's what we are. You're kind of we're giving you the surface level of the tabloids of, the humanoid, Batman that was seen or whatever in the Inquirer and the National
Bad boy.
Enquirer.
100%
Right.
real.
Yeah. And I just got back from a work trip from Chicago, and I just saw that they had something of that nature of some bat. I don't even know.
Ladies and gentlemen, those flying humanoids,
Yes.
100% real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just saying.
But like you said, guard your heart and your eyes.
Yes.
Because you can never unsee that. And it's the same thing about the whole, assassination of Charlie Kirk. I don't know why social media allowed anything. You and we get marked and pegged for some incredibly interesting things. But to have you just got to protect your heart and your eyes.
Yeah.
Don't go down the path. Here's what I would say. I don't know. I don't want someone to make money off of that type of stuff.
I hear you.
Don't go clicking and looking through. If you want to read the files, I mean, you can even ask ChatGPT or someone to kind of give you a synopsis of these types of things. But if you're so inquisitive and maybe you're a younger mind, and maybe you're going to be some type of investigator, or you're going to college or something of that nature, and you're going to go do that type of work, then I would say, yeah. But for the average person like myself, I'm not going through those files, Michael. I'm not going to open video or pictures. That's not something that I would do. And I think even when I saw the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk, I was like, damn. I was like, when everyone's like, oh yeah, he's like, I was like, no, that dude is not making that. Like, they smoked him out. Whoever killed him got him. Like, it was just terrible. And I don't care where you lie in your politics or whatever.
It was awful. And people's behavior after that was atrocious. I mean, that's another story. But yeah, and the footage on the Charlie Kirk thing, that one's hard for me, because I definitely agree with you. And at the same time, and some people were using it just for clicks, for sure.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I'm glad that people have taken that footage and analyzed it. Now, whether or not people's ideas are correct, I'm glad at least somebody's thinking about it. But I guess the other thing I was talking about is just these other really super dark, horrible things I'm not going to say on the air. That's why if you want to go dark, it's out there. And I'm just saying, beware.
Sure.
It may not do you any good. Sometimes just let the professionals handle it. And in regards to this drop of 3 million documents, let's be honest here. I'm not going to read 3 million documents. And I know that there are people who have methods by which they will get through this information. And after that, we'll be able to find, okay, this is actually, these stories are something, these pieces of data are not helpful. So I guarantee you, in a month, we're going to know a lot more than we know right now about what's in those 3 million pages of documents.
Our guest tonight, Michael Parker, hanging out with us. You can find him at Michael Parker LA. As we get close to wrapping things up, were you shocked about the whole piece when it came down to? Can we just say Mario knew the entire time? Like, I was like, why are we not talking about this man? And I know someone from being from the Pacific Northwest, I want to say I got it. Like, I finally got one right, and not that I wanted to be right on this, but it was like, I'm glad that these things are starting to articulate and come out.
You're talking about Bill Gates again?
Yes, about Bill Gates.
I have a thought on that. Now,
yeah.
You and I kind of keep our ear to the ground, and a lot of the people that listen to this, if they're listening to this show, that's because they're similar people to us, and they have similar curiosity, and they have an inkling that things are not as they're being portrayed. Anyway, the Bill Gates thing, I know people that, I am not a spring chicken, but I do know people older than me and younger than me that don't know any of this. about Bill Gates. All they know is he's the one of the top 5 or 10 richest people in the world, and he's the creator of Microsoft, and he is kind of quirky and clumsy and all that. But anyway, they don't know what you and I know, which seems like, how could you be that unaware? But there's a lot of those people, and there's people that are not even going to know what just came out in these files because they don't listen to the news, or they don't listen to this type of news. They want to know what the price of Microsoft is going to be. And they want to know what a stock price is going to be. So, and there's also people that to go into something like this would shatter their worldview so immensely that they're never going to look into it. Now, there's other people who are going to be like, are you kidding me? We've known this all along. So the world's mixed of different kinds of people who know, people who don't want to know, and people who will find out this week. But I do see how this happens. It bugs me, but this is how it can happen.
But this goes back to the oldest profession of all.
Yep.
You know, if they have an itch and they're not, and it's not being scratched, and shouldn't they just legalize prostitution? And that's a whole nother situation. Legalize prostitution. But what is going on is like, these are levels of disturbing, like what is being, like Bill Gates situation. I feel bad for his wife. If
100%. I listened to some tape of her today discussing all this. Now the thing with Bill Gates, and I don't have the answer to this. Other people are going to say you missed it entirely. I don't know how old these women were. If they were underage,
well, he has daughters.
Right. Right. I mean, look, I don't know how bad it is, but if they're underage, now that's really heavy. A lot of these girls that Epstein had were, I mean, that's what he's most famous for, right? Underage women, girls. So yeah, with the Bill Gates things, he's in a world of hurt. Now, is anything ever going to happen to him? I don't know.
Well, I mean, time will tell. Time will tell on his alleged, stories that have come out on him. I think that in time we will know. Did Melinda French Gates say anything in regards to contracting an STD from him in her recent podcast? I didn't know if that came out. I just know that she said she had a heavy heart for all these women.
Basically, what I heard, she never says those exact words, but she basically just, and I doubt she wants to get into details,
right?
But she clearly has a heavy heart, and she clearly couldn't continue her relationship with him. So anyway, and look, I got to be honest, like I'm not a huge fan of hers either, because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, it wasn't just one of them. They were both involved, but regardless, that's kind of beside the point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I wonder how that affects the line, what it's they're them giving, if that, foundation will stay around, if that's going to crumble.
It will. It will. I mean, I don't know if they'll continue to call it that, but they've got plenty of money to make it work one way or the other.
I feel bad for Bill Gates' dad because tarnishes the name, for that family, as we wrap things up from the Pacific Northwest. Hey, if you're into that, we're making some changes to usphenomenon.com. If you want to be a part of it, if you missed. You're getting the radio experience. You need to download the podcast to get the full interview, the full podcast experience, which is the full show, full hour versus the 23 minutes for 2 segments that you get on your radio stations across the platform at KOSW, KAPY, and our flagship station 570 KVI here in Seattle. So if you want the full podcast, it's free. You just got to go to onairmario.com to download and click on the podcast button. Just click on the listen button. It'll take you straight to the podcast. Michael Parker, where can they find you besides Michael Parker LA at Michael Parker LA?
Well, I'm on X, so under Michael Parker LA. You can go to YouTube, look me up, Michael Parker Media, those 3 words, and you'll find hundreds of videos that I've done over my years of doing this. And my podcast is just called Michael Parker Media. So lots of ways to find me, trying to keep it simple. I'd love to have you around. There is going to be new content within the next couple of weeks. So I took
Nice.
a little bit of a hiatus. I'm also a musician and I'm finishing a record right now, but I appreciate all the listeners and people who visit and watch the videos. Mario, I appreciate you too, brother. Thank you for inviting me on.
Well, welcome back. It's to year 6. How about that? This is year 6.
Congratulations, my brother. Just keep
we've
doing
been,
what you're doing.
yeah, we're chipping away. Again, what's your biggest? What are you working on? Anything that we should know about in regards to an upcoming episode that we might be that we should be
I'm
standing up for?
there. Well, I'm taking some of the best episodes I ever did and dropping
Mhm.
them. And one of the next thing I'm going to do is an examination of the 60s and the psychedelic era and some of the people who were integrally involved in that. And it's kind of a continuance of this question about how legitimate is the 60s, and was there, a hidden hand in the administering of these various acid and all that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So that's just one of the things. I also have a
Psychedelics.
completely new different show that's going to be coming out, but it's not related to any of this, but I can't talk about it yet, but it's just more audio content. But yeah, go to Michael Parker Media
Ooh.
and lots of if you like what Maury and I just talked about, there's a lot more of that kind of stuff.
Cool. As we wrap things up from the Pacific Northwest, I'd like to thank our guest, Michael Parker. Always a pleasure to have you back on. I'm interested to see what our boy, I have to have him back on eventually, but I'm interested to see how things are going on in New York. I wonder what he has to say about the Mengati thing. If he thinks that he looks like, I saw the picture. I was like, wow, he kind of looks like Epstein, but anybody smiling, it looked pretty close. As we wrap things up from the Pacific Northwest, I'd like to thank all. Oh, go ahead.
Before you leave, hey man, how about those Seahawks?
Oh man, so exciting!
I'll
so
bet.
excited. I mean, they play, for those who are listening to the podcast. I mean, they play tomorrow afternoon. So if you're listening on one of our radio stations, yeah, I mean, it's nerve wracking to be a fan, to be going through the whole Super Bowl week. And I'm like, this is garbage. I just want to play the game now. But
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Yeah, the whole LA situation was crazy, by the way. That was a good game, by the way. That was close. LA, those Rams almost got them.
Yeah.
As we wrap things up from here, I'd like to thank our guest, Michael Parker. Please go download the podcast on your favorite podcasting platform. Just search US Phenomenon with Mario Magana, or you just go to onairmario.com. Be sure to look up at the sky because you never know what you might see. Good night.